Hello and welcome to today's video. This is part 3, talking about threads, and more precisely, we'll be explaining how to update the user interface from the worker thread. We're going to try to do it the easy way, as every time. And just to give you a bit of reminder, a recap about the previous 2 videos. In the first one, we've talked about blocking the user interface, and we've done this by executing a long-running task in the UI thread, in the main thread. This caused the application to become unresponsive and to stop. In the second video, background threads implemented with Runnable, we moved the long-running task and we put it inside this worker thread. This way, the user interface remained responsive and the application did not crash. In this video, we will build upon the previous example and we will add some functionalities. For example, how to update the user interface so that the user will see the progress of the worker thread. In the last video, we'll talk about some alternatives, but just stay tuned and you'll see what happens there. Let me show you what we've done in the previous 2 videos. And we started very simple by creating the user interface and the simple app that has 3 buttons with a click to test user interface button. I'll just make it a bit larger, a text view, and 2 other buttons to start and stop a thread. The idea is that by the end of the series of videos, we have a complete app that will start the secondary thread, execute some task in the background, stop that thread when you press this button, and while doing so, updates the user interface with the information being displayed in this text view. During the secondary task being executed, or in the secondary thread, the worker thread being executed, the user interface should still be interactable. Should still respond to user input when we click the button, for example. This is the user interface that you have just seen. Make sure that when you select the text view, you have an ID associated with the text view because you need to reference it and use it inside the main activity Java. And this is the main code of the application. You have the part with the classes being imported. You have some variables. I will not explain each of them. You can see the previous 2 videos because it goes step by step. You have the onCreate method, and you have 3 methods, the test UI, start and stop thread. These are all associated with the buttons in the user interface. Again, the code is pretty straightforward. No need to explain much. Only this part with the background task. This BK task is an inner class. You can see it here. And this contains the code that we execute in the worker thread. So as you can see, you have a constructor. We pass the number of seconds that we want the task to last for. We can have a 5-second or a 10 or a 20 or a 60-second task. So it depends how long we want to block the secondary thread. And then you have the code itself. It's just a simple for loop. And second by second, we freeze the secondary thread. And of course, we post some log messages. So it's not much, but it does the job. So going back to the start thread, you have a new instance of this class, and we run it inside a new thread. Straightforward. Okay, now let's start adding the necessary modifications to the code. The text view is the first to be added, and we say private text view, and this is going to be the Android widget. We give it a name, let's say TV from text view status, because it will show the status of the thread. And we just go in the onCreate method, and here we say text view status, and we'll find it by ID. So resource ID, and then we just select the text view status. So this is the view from the user interface. Okay, so we've done the association between these 2. Now we have to go inside the inner class and modify the content of the text view. Let's say we go here behind this log and just before we select the thread, and we say if I equals 1, so not the very first iteration, but the second one, we'll just want to say something like text view status, and we'll use the set text method just to change the text to worker thread started. So this is all we want to do. Not the very first iteration, the second one, when I equals 1, we'll just modify this text. We can save it and run it to see what happens. I can already tell you we're going to have a small surprise. With the application loaded, I'm just going to open this part so you can see the log. You can see the user interface is responding. And when I press the start thread, let me just show you, we have the application crashing. We can stop the emulator. The point is already made. We don't need to run it again. And you can see here, the first iteration had executed without an issue. And the second one, when we actually execute this line of code, we try to change the content of the text view. We have this error. And the error says that only the original thread can created a view hierarchy can change or touch its views. Just to rephrase it, if you have instantiated a view in the main thread, you cannot change it from a background or secondary thread. The way to fix this issue is to create a handler. And for this, you'll say private final handler. And this is a Android operating system class. And you'll give it the name main handler. Let's put this capital H. And this will be a new handler. The reason I called it main is that every time you declare a handler, it will be associated with the thread it's been declared in. So this is declared inside the main thread or inside the main activity. And this is why I called it a main handler. And this will work together with the handler of this main thread. If I would have declared this inside our inner class and inside our secondary thread or background worker thread, then it will be associated with that. And maybe I would call it secondary thread, but let me show you how you use it. You will just say main handler, and you will use the post method, and you'll just say a new runnable. Now, if you select this runnable from Java language, this will be created automatically. Don't forget to put here at the end the comma. And inside this run method, this is where we will execute whatever code we want so we can change the user interface. So we'll just move this line of code inside here. I can comment for now this condition, or actually, let me just show you like so. Okay. Now, when I equals 1, this is what will execute, and we should see the change being applied without an error. With the application loaded, let's see if this time it works without crashing. So user interface is responding. If we start the thread, what do you know? We can change the text view content from the background thread without causing the application to crash. And it says the worker thread is started. If you see here, the thread has finished its task, but we can modify it a bit more so it will be more engaging or more interesting. So let's do something like this. Here, we'll just use a string. We'll just say status. This will be our string. Now, this string we'll just declare here inside the inner class. Okay, and we'll just change the content of the string and then paste it or apply it to the text view. And let's make it a bit different. Let's say that when I will be smaller than, and we say seconds minus 1. So except for the last iteration, for all the other iterations, we'll just say that our status, so our string will be equal to, let's say, task in progress. And we can even, let's add the integer, the step, so we can see what step we are executing. We'll just say integer, or integer to string. And we'll just pass the value here. Okay, so this will happen for every step, except for the last one. And for the last one, we'll just say as you can see at the end of the loop, so for the last iteration, we'll just say status task finish. I was a bit undecided whether to say whatever, task finish, stopped, canceled, whatever it was, but just to keep it simple, task finish should be enough. Now, if we run this, and let's try it, we should see the text view being updated every step of the way and in the end as well. So you can see the task is in progress. We can see what step is executed. And when it reaches the end, it will just say task finished. Okay, and we can repeat the steps. Okay, we can stop everything. As you can see, when you stop, nothing happens because actually nothing happens from the point of view of the text view being updated. Because when you press this stop button, this Boolean variable becomes true, and then we just post, as you can see in the log, that the task has been stopped, and then we just leave the thread, and there's no chance for the rest of the code to be executed. So we can just fix it. Let's move this one. We'll just move it here inside the stop thread, and we'll just say here task finished. And this will fix the issue. We can stop the emulator. If you have questions, if you have suggestions, if you need to see something else, or would you like me to present something else, leave a comment below. If not, until we meet again in the next video. And I guess I'll make another one showing an easier way to handle the secondary thread and updating the user interface. So this I tried to present step by step so you can see how it works in the background. I guess I'll make one more video just to wrap everything up and to show you what I believe to be the shortest form or the most condensed code that you can use. So anyway, until the next video, until such time, take care, keep learning, keep practicing, and be safe. Bye-bye.